Okay.
We are
Live. Heyo. It's Wednesday, the 12th. Markets have been in turmoil.
Turmoil.
But today's Sid's joining us. Sid's my partner from Maxi, and me and him have been trading and like reading charts and stuff for pretty much ever. Sid's got a great handle on like TA and market analysis, so I wanted him to join us today and kind of like look at what's going on in the market, since that's usually what we do on Wednesdays anyway. But today I think it's like we've been getting kind of like confirmation basically that some of the longer term trends are starting to change, and it seems like a good time to look at the markets with Sid rather than just on our own here, to kind of make sure we're not just fucking around in a void. It's always good to like run your ideas off other people who also know what's up, you know. But yeah, welcome. I'm also just saying for people who are watching the replay, since it's gonna be more of a trickle in before we dive all into this stuff. But yeah, what a fucking last couple weeks.
Yeah, it's been downtrend. We kind of expected it, and stocks also topping out, which we can talk about later.
Yeah, that bodes kind of poorly for the rest of the crypto market, I think, because it has been starting to move pretty in sync with the stocks over the last like 5 or 7 years at this point already. It's been a while.
Yeah, I've noticed, like, if the stock market is in a bull market, then crypto can still have its own sort of thing going on. But like in a bear, but I've noticed when the bear, if stocks top out, then the algos start following.
It's like
stocks. Then they start correlating.
It's like stocks in a bear market would mean crypto is probably going to follow in a bear market, and then stocks in a bull market means crypto could go either way.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, all that to say is, like, it's because, like, I know people sometimes expect crypto to be an inflation hedge or whatever, but I don't think it's still taken that role.
I do still kind of like see
not
it.
Like gold.
That's like one of my that's one of my like personal like investment thesis, like value proposition pitches for crypto still is the whole like inflation hedge or hedge against state controlled policy, like state fiscal policy. If they start printing dollars again or whatever the fuck happens, the fact that you can't do that and there isn't like a governing body anywhere in the world that can start like printing more of it, that definitely still feels like, I don't know, like the digital gold promise is still intact for me at least, but I don't think it's not treated as like a reserve currency or like that. It's still like, it's still very much a speculation asset. So like the reality of the market isn't like, oh, it's acting as this hedge. While I think as long as it stays, a solvent and like a legitimate network, it seems to me like it's still a very solid, like, digital gold or hedge against bullshit. But I can see also like the luster of that kind of stuff having faded over this last cycle because of all the like hype around bullshit. And like the bullshit kind of like has stained, I think, the rest of the perception of what crypto is as a like whole, where it's like everyone who's got into it got into it for like meme coins or rug pulls or celebrity endorsed nonsense, or even like some DeFi stuff that was just too good to be true BS, or like gaming promises or NFTs. And like that's overwhelmingly, I think, what like a lot of people's initial introduction has been, at least in the last few years within crypto, because that's been kind of like the meta. And that is such a, again, like not a space where I'm like, oh, that stuff is pure trash and always a scam, but it's like 95% of it definitely is pure trash and a scam. Or maybe
Yeah.
let's say 90% of it is, and like 5% of it isn't like an outright scam, but it's just so poorly run by people who have initially like good intentions or whatever, but still just can't pull anything off that they promise, and like over promise under deliver is like rampant in that
Yeah.
space. And so I feel like a lot of people get introduced to that initially and then burned out or burned by that, and basically like that is their perception of the entire crypto like
Yeah,
ecosystem.
because
It's like
the
that's what all of crypto
newcomers,
is
yeah.
to you. Like if that's what happened, that was your experience with crypto, then that's also like now when someone's talking about like, oh, what about the value proposition of Bitcoin as like a hedge against inflation? Well, Bitcoin being a crypto, and what I know about crypto is that, you know, it's I got ripped off and sold bullshit promises and like got rug
Yeah.
pulled by like celebrities, then I'd also be like, yeah, nope, this isn't it. But
Yeah. But I think markets still like they trade crypto like a risk on asset. And
that's
that's
for
not
sure.
changed. You know
That's
what I
not
mean?
changed. Yeah, it's definitely not being traded like a hedge asset, which would be like gold, like you said. And gold,
Yeah.
it doesn't move like volatile at all. You know, although it has been a little volatile, it almost hit 3,000 and dropped back to like 2,800 in the course
Right,
of like
right,
a couple weeks. Like gold has also been like getting a little bit more of that volatility that is also more indicative, I think, the fact that like look at how, you know,
Which
volatile like gold
we
had
had,
been there.
yeah, we had charted this actually before the breakout, but it's
It's
doing a
still in the
parabola.
it's still in the parabola too.
So, you know,
But you can
ever
see with
since
the
we got
recent like
closer.
activity, there has been kind of like big candles. You see,
One.
like
Oh, you said talk about
yeah,
here and
yeah,
here.
like yeah, relatively recently
One.
too. That's
I
bigger
wonder
candles
how
and
many
it's characteristic
bases.
of it.
So typically a parabola, we get like 4 bases. This seems to be like 1, 2,
I'd call that
3.
two,
Maybe this
three.
is the 4th
Yeah,
base
so we
that
get
it's
one
trying to
more.
form.
So then we're basic. How where does the parabola peak out in your?
So usually we get 4 bases,
So we're looking for the blow
and
off.
then a blow, and we could get a blow up top after that, or you know, like after the 4th, we might not blow up top. It's not necessary that we get it all the time, but usually we get 4 bases. So
Yeah,
like each base being like where the candles kind of like, you know, where it goes up and down and then like it touches the curve. So that's how like
yeah.
let's say we can mark this.
I sold my gold for
One.
$2,600. My physical
Wow.
gold coins cash, and that was not long ago. That was like December last year, so like around the holiday seasons when I was traveling like in Europe and stuff.
Wow.
To have some extra cash, I sold like
Hey,
two
it's
two
no,
ounces.
it's
It
not
would have
bad taking profit considering
so
you.
I had bought them for about $1,700 each, so I sold them for two
Yeah, that's
thousand
like
six hundred,
before
almost
the
$1,000 per like thing in profit,
before the
which is
run up.
great.
Actually, you bought right at the bottom.
Yeah, I bought that, and that was also, it
One,
wasn't even
this
because
one.
of the chart, it was because Bitcoin was so high, and I was like, I should diversify my Bitcoin, so I like sold one Bitcoin and then went and bought like a few ounces of gold, like a couple bit of like cash, some silver, some like other stuff that wasn't Bitcoin. But it was like, I think that was also back when Bitcoin was like $20,000 or something, so it was like
Wow.
back then you could have gotten like
Nice.
like a 10 like ounces or something, like a little bar of gold for like one Bitcoin.
Right.
Which I get now, actually, you could get more than that. Like even with the current Bitcoin price, it's still like Bitcoin's
Right.
definitely outperformed the shit out of gold. But
Yeah, for sure. In a bull market, it always does. So
yeah,
this is how I see the bases. I don't know.
yeah, okay.
Like,
So
you know,
4 is forming right now,
let's see if the 4th is still forming.
and then it'd
So
be
you
like
get some
basically
vol.
once we break out of like 3K, which we've been like hammering up against
Yeah,
for
exactly.
gold. Once
Yeah.
we get past that, then it'll like jump up basically to the next leg.
Right. Let's
Form
see
its wait, one,
if
two,
I
three,
can
four.
find a chart.
The cheat sheet.
Or yeah, it's something like this.
Yeah, there you go.
2, 3, 4. And this blow off top can or cannot happen. but usually it does.
Yeah. And then if it
So
sells off after the like part where it crosses the parabola, then you're looking for like like up to 80% pullback, which I don't know that we see that for gold either. Gold probably won't pull back that hard.
I mean, yeah. I mean, gold. The thing is, it's not super volatile, so it can happen
Yeah.
over like a long period of time. You know what I mean? Like, say you get this was back in the day. See, that's a parabola. If you
Oh,
look at
yep.
it.
Yeah, I guess you can see it probably.
Mm.
I guess see it. Is that 80% that it corrected after it broke?
So it can go anywhere between 60 and 80. That's the number. So there we go, 65.
65. Yeah. So I would have I'd
Yeah, but
bias to the top of that range versus the bottom of it, like 60% maybe.
yeah.
I'd go for
Oh, yeah.
50 or something like that if I like feel like catching the top of gold. I'd be like, if I can buy back half price, I'm doing that.
Oh, actually, we have to take this guy. So that's like 67, 68%
Yeah.
before it actually found a bottom.
That's about between 60 and 80 though. And I feel like if we get a similar breakout there, like here, that one did not fall as far.
No, that one. But this was like I don't know. It was just like a continuation.
Damn.
You know what I mean? Like, but
Yeah, but it's definitely gold's also like taking off, and that's kind of the difference. Also, like you're saying, it's not like isn't being traded as like a hedge asset. That's the chart of the hedge asset right there. You can see it just
exactly
kind of pumping as the markets get more and more like uncertain. Obviously, crypto isn't following anything like that.
No, but what's interesting is that typically the cycle, like going by past cycles, it should have lasted till the bull market should have lasted till the end of the year. But like, I don't know, that's called into question right now because I mean, and I guess we talked about this like earlier too, but like, so this is something we've been tracking for a while now.
Yeah.
Right. Like
this is like the long-term kind of like
long-term
the cycles would be contained within this model basically,
exactly,
which also suggests that the cycles
model, as we call it.
Yeah, and it shows like the cycles get more like
Diminishing
narrow basically
returns,
yeah, basically you're not going to get as volatile in the cycles as the market matures, which everyone else's model kind of like is the same. But then you can also see that it ends, it like calls for an end to the whole bull bear cycle. That's like the 4-year predictable cycle that circulates around the halving events within Bitcoin. That will likely the market will likely mature out of that. Relative and based on our projection model here, it'd be like within the end, like the end of this cycle would be the last of this like kind of cycle pattern that'll make it such a predictable 4-year up, 4-year down sort of a deal.
Exactly. Like we could have, I mean, we were, people were expecting it to go on at least till December. Typically, that's what would happen, and then start the next bear market. But I mean, I just saw this that the price is close to the top of the curve.
Yeah.
So
115K was like my sell target for the like top of the bull market, and we got to like 110. So
exactly, that's super close.
I had started selling off, so it wasn't like I was trying to time the very top. Once we hit like 105 or something, I'm like, okay, starting to scale into like some sells, and then of course when we got like a lower low, lower high confirmation now with the weekly, I'm now looking more for opportunity to see more confirmation of that trend reversal, which obviously if we do get that retest that we're hoping for here, like I said, to like 93K, if it starts to look like it's running out of steam or out of momentum on its way up around there, for sure, that's kind of another like further confirmation of the like reversal from bull to bear here in the medium term at least. And that's kind of what I'm looking for to kind of off risk the last of my spot, which the majority of it, like at least half of it, we sold. I think I sold ETH was like 3,100 still, and think Bitcoin was like 88. It's below 90. I didn't quite catch the 90.
Yeah, I sold like right on around 100 is when I sold. Basically, when I saw it like forming a lower high Bitcoin, that's when I sold, like around here. So that's around
Yeah.
100K. And then I was waiting, and of course we got the first lower low too. So that just indicates a change in trend. Like you can see in the past, that's what happened. So low, lower high, lower low, lower high, and each retest can be a big swing.
Yeah.
It can go all the way back to the last high. So
That
like you
was
said,
a thing I've mentioned like in past like bull and bear markets too, is that generally the biggest like short-term green price action happens during a bear market. Like
yeah,
you get the
because the
biggest,
liquidity is also pretty
yeah,
thin, so it's easy to just.
exactly. What happens is like if you can kind of clearly see on this chart, for example, where like we've now, sold through all of that resistance where to get to the price for it to sit where it currently is.
Yeah,
So,
right
and
above support.
yeah, and to get there, we've had to already, push and sell all the orders that were initially sitting there, like long-term, basically orders that have now been, filled. And
Filled it.
so on the way back now, you've got a lot less, of that long-term liquidity still waiting. And now
Yeah,
we're looking, people are kind of like taking a back seat, like stepping away from that, and it widens the gap of like liquidity available around the current spot price, especially when
exactly.
the market gets volatile. The price can fall and then recover incredibly quickly, especially in the
Quickly,
modern
yeah.
like age here. Like every time like there's big market events that have been happening in recent history, I'm always just amazed with how fast everything's been moving. You
Because
know,
my thought is that because like 90 something percent is all just algos trading, so that's why it's not. That's why it all happens so quickly. You know what I mean? It's probably all set to like watch the news or whatever, and
yeah.
then like it's just like bots trading. And that's what.
Oh, I got here. I was wrong. I sold my Bitcoin was 97,000. So actually,
That's
not
pretty good.
not too bad. Yeah, just below
I
100.
sold it like around 100. That's when I sold. But yeah, I mean, we should see, like you said, like the retest can go all the way up there. I mean, we still
Yeah,
need to, you know, I mean, I think like when the retest happens, like I think it'll also depend on stocks finding at least a temporary bottom. But the market is starting to look oversold, like looking
yeah.
at the stock RSI.
I was starting to feel it oversold like last week already, but now it's continued down. So it's like obviously it can stay oversold, and we've like seen that
Yeah,
before too, where like it's where you'll
it can
see like
flatline for some time.
some flatlining, and you'll see some of like the largest like percentage moves during that time of flatlining. So always having to kind of be wary of that. Like don't want to get stuck just waiting for a retest that never comes while the market like
Yeah, exactly.
takes
I
us all the
mean,
way to the bottom.
exactly. So I would just like wait for the candles to close and then like show us that okay, it's forming a base, and at least like this looks like a bullish candle, a possibly bullish candle on the weekly, but we still have 4 days
Four
to.
days left.
So, but if it closes like that with the SRSI curling up, then I think the probability of a retest is pretty high.
Yeah, increases. I agree. And then we definitely want to see that retest hopefully push to 100K, so then it gives us the chance to get the second half of that sale in at the
Yeah,
same price that the
exactly.
first half came in. But it's also like a kind of like word of kind of like staying um like on top of your own euphoria, because like I said, during like a bear market you do get these big moves back up to kind of like retest old supports and re-goat people into like setting limits back so you can tank it back and buy for those same prices one more time. It's
Yeah.
kind of like the big player game. And so you know, be like keeping in mind kind of like the longer term sentiment, like Sid has shown in these charts. Now we've gotten closed candles with lower highs, lower lows,
Yeah.
which you can see there on the weekly for Bitcoin. And the fractal. There it is.
So like,
so lower low, you can see that first like C shape. There's the peak, then the next one is a low, the like low, then a lower high, and now we're getting a lower low again than the previous low. Exactly. So that lower low after following a lower high is confirming our reversal here.
Same thing for ETH too.
Yeah, on a large scale. ETH is, especially with the wedge you had drawn out. Like if that wedge, I was hoping that would be like a long-term playing out. And honestly, I feel like we would have seen more support on the part where it has fallen through, or at least a quicker rebound if this was going to be a deviation. I guess we still have a few days left in the week. There's 4 days left, so we'll see if ETH pumps back into there, but that would not looking hot.
No, it's not. I think so. Like first step for ETH would be to like reclaim the line, like the trend line.
Yeah.
So I mean, if it's not, so the retest could actually just be a retest of the trend line and then top out and come back down. That'll be kind of lame.
Very lame for ETH.
That's a possibility. Or it could go all the way here, right? Or whether our strength band is.
Yeah, as long as it's forming a lower high still.
Exactly.
Since the last high was there, and then we got the lower low.
Around here. Yeah, the last high. I mean, I guess even this could be taken as the high 4K. So anywhere below that, a close below that would be a retest.
Yeah, which
I know it's a huge.
It's a huge, which is exactly what I was saying. Is like you'd get a huge candle potentially. Yeah, so you get a lot of volatility in these markets, but it's savage. It's very difficult to trade.
Look at this. Like the last, like on the bear market, like the retest was it was like from the bottom. It was like, let's see. Okay, take this and take this. It was 126%. So yeah.
Sheesh.
So which would be like even from here to like here. See, it's even less than this. So it's totally possible, is what I'm saying. But for it to go back to being bullish, the first step would be to go above the trend line and then bounce on it.
Yeah.
So
like the retest, instead of retesting and getting rejected at the trend line moving down, which is kind of like the bear scenario here, what we would want to see is like a push that like decidedly breaks back above it. And then when it finally does get like pushed back down, finds support. Yeah, like that. And then
like this. And then it
bounces on the trend line. Otherwise, this can't be considered a deviation, and the wedge pattern needs to be reconsidered.
Yeah, like if it falls back down, like after going back up, then this is like, that's not bullish.
That's a very bearish scenario there. But so even with like the wedge having kind of like not held as well as I'd want to, at least the trend line wedge there.
Yeah.
It's still within deviation territory here, We got like a few days left. ETH could rally, who knows? But and again, like the SRSI is oversold. Like we are looking for a rally to kind of like rebound this a little bit. But it's also
there's FOMC, I think, next week.
That's next week, and then today's CPI or unemployment?
I think today was CPI. Actually, the numbers came in line with expectations, so that was good. Okay. But then we have jobs tomorrow, and then the PPI day after. So the whole week we have like different reports coming out, and then next week we have the FOMC meeting, which will also, I mean, so all this so I don't think the market is going to pick a proper direction until all of this is over.
Yeah, I think
Basically,
there's a decent amount of expectation for like some of these numbers to be less than ideal as well.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
like the CPI report, that's the consumer price index. So that's going to be, a metric that tells us how much the cost of like everyday goods are going up or going down or staying the same. And then of course unemployment is going to, show how many jobs have been created or lost over the last span of since the last data set came out. And that's also, that kind of information tends to lag slightly behind the real world scenario. Like when everybody feels grocery prices are high, the CPI report maybe won't show that until like the following release,
month or months later, whatever.
a quarter or something. Yeah, sometimes, because it takes a while to like create data, like for data to be collected. It's like once, and same is going to go for like unemployment numbers, because it's going to be based off like what was reported, how it's all filed in at this point. There's also been lots of mass layoffs happening, at least in like circles of people I know within like the film industry. Again, lots of visual effects vendors closing their doors.
Fed workers because of Doge. That's
and
like
then you got a lot of
thousands of people.
Contractors getting like canned, no contracts being renewed from government employees, and then government straight up actual like government proper employees being let go without contingency or without like new jobs being created for that. So again, I think all that stuff isn't going to immediately be reflected in the numbers this time, but is also like driving the sentiment for having a tolerance of shittier numbers. People are like, oh, it's not as bad as it seems. And it's like, well, it's because like the data for how bad it really is still like being compiled, which is kind of scary, I feel like. But at the same time, not to be alarmist, the numbers did come in like at expectation or better than. So, and maybe things aren't, as gloomy as everybody seems to think. And you do get, that bodes well for a retest, for an aggressive retest. If we do get like, because I mean, if you follow the sentiment index too, or like not that there's like an index that gives you numeric value for this kind of stuff, but if you follow like online forums and stuff, a lot of people are expecting the markets to continue to sell off now. Like a lot of the retail crowd is like, oh yeah, Bitcoin's going back to 70K, like ETH to like 14 or whatever. Like that's a lot of sentiment, like in crypto chats or like that. And then same with in like stock market, like trading groups, people talking about, like, oh, the SPY is like due for its correction, and like, oh, this is like expecting like a 20 or 30% pullback isn't like out of reason within communities that are normally like very bullish and degen. So when even the degens are starting to get like more metered and relaxed, I feel like it's a good sign that the market's volatility and like downtrend stuff is starting to like be maybe taken seriously, not just by obviously institutions who are on the forefront of a lot of the price movement, but also by like retail. And I feel like that's almost par for the course now, is that we're going to get like unemployment numbers and it's going to be really bad, but the markets pump. Like that would almost feel like expected, because it's like, because everyone expects the opposite now, and that just feels par for the course for what these markets have been doing.
I see like extreme of both sides in all chats. Like, I don't know, that the streets are the best place to get your analysis from.
That's true. I feel just general sentiment though is like a lot of people that usually are like really bullish, like, are kind of preaching conservatism, which is.
I saw a bunch of people on Twitter being like, "Hodl, like we're still in the middle of the bull run, like
that's
never
true.
sell." I see all that nonsense.
I see that too. Yeah.
I saw other people like we were never in a bull run. It's always been bearish. I'm like, you call Bitcoin doubling in price bearish? Like what?
I mean, like
it's like quadrupled in price. Terrible bearish.
It's like like the cycles were anyway about to, and like we were saying, like, you know, the curves, like there's an inflection point at around 2028. So
yeah, and you can see it like compressing the like volatility of the market. So it does.
Exactly.
You do expect like a more and more lame bull run and a more and more lame bear market. And that's
it's just
also
the
a lot of
market
the
after
sentiment
that.
I see too when people are like, "Oh, this was a
Yeah.
lame," or like, "This is a lame. It's not over yet, but it's just a really lame bear market," which is like, or bull market, which is like,
Well,
yeah, honestly, maybe
yeah.
because like looking at this chart here, we still have that long-term like recovery down to the support line there, down to our strength band. That would keep us bullish. And
Yeah,
technically
you're still
keep us as a,
bullish.
it would just be a lame bull market, which is
Exactly
totally what some of the sentiment out there is too. But yeah, like Liz says, you can find all sorts of sentiment, and like the online echo chambers I don't think are the best place to like.
I always look at like on accident when you go to CoinMarketCap, it's like bullish or bearish, and people can just post anything.
Yeah,
and people just have some wild opinions out there. It's like, yeah. And also I'm on Twitter, like doing art posts and stuff, and we're following a bunch of crypto accounts. So it's like, it's just weird seeing like people saying polar opposite things, and it just feels like there's always so much noise out there if you're trying to look at people.
Yeah,
I think what's been different this cycle, at least, has been that Bitcoin has clearly been in an uptrend and has made new highs, but like we can't say that of altcoins. A lot of altcoins have just like double topped.
Ethereum, like, really.
Yeah, ETH has been like, you know, it's a double top. And then
didn't stuff like Solana hit all-time highs? Like,
Solana and BNB did, but that's kind of
but like
list.
But it didn't. If you look at a weekly chart, it's basically just wicked up. But then
that's true. It retested the old high and then kind of got rejected. But it did technically wick to a new all-time high.
Yeah, exactly. And same
for a hot second.
Ethereum.
Yeah, way better than Ethereum.
Yeah, way better than Ethereum, exactly. But like, so I think like it's been like this with most altcoins, except for like, so I think like people probably, you know, that expected it. Of course, all of us did expect it to make new highs. It always was like that in, you know, in the past whatever cycles. So that's changed, and that also make like, I mean, it could be because of the whole like, you know, like Bitcoin ETF. I mean, I know Ethereum had its ETF, and then they filed for Doge and Solana and all XR. I don't know. It's like ridiculous, but I think like definitely there's been some sort of shift in the market, you know, and I don't know if we'll get like a so-called alt season or not.
And like, I really was hoping for alt season, especially for our wax bags and our just altcoins in general.
Yeah, like if my thought is that if you're done with cycles, you know, like we talked about, like this is the end of cycles, and like then I don't know if technically then you would just see like coins, you know, just like I don't know if we'll see like an alt season per se, right? Like because things don't go into like parabolas anymore.
And that was like, the whole point. Yeah,
because
it was so predictable. It was such an easy move for
people
to funnel their Bitcoin into altcoins, then drain the altcoins back over to Bitcoin before the next Bitcoin.
It was easy money.
It was always like a accumulation strategy for people to make more Bitcoin over. Like overwhelmingly, that's more or less what alt seasons had amounted to, which is also why like most of the stuff that flourished during alt season eventually became worthless. And even like projects that rock, like you can buy Uniswap for $5 right now. That's like 5 years ago you could buy Uniswap for $5. That's, to me, that's nuts. Like they beat the SEC like wellness check. Like look, like how long ago?
It's just a double top again. It's like even Uniswap, you know, and now it's lost support.
Yeah,
so it's like
that's $5 feels like $7 was like my buying target for this one. So $5, I'm like, damn, or I guess it's $5.80 something. Still,
but that's we could see the last lows being retested.
Yeah, and that's like a you know, in my opinion, that's like as blue chip as altcoins get. You know, like Uniswap is the governance share for the Uniswap Labs like company, basically, which is based out of New York in the US and deploys the Uniswap like DEX. They're the ones who wrote the like automated market maker algos that literally all of crypto uses to this day. Right now, I think their V4 liquidity model is on the cutting edge of what DeFi liquidity is, and that model is going to be adopted by every other piece of DeFi like out there as soon as the exclusive licenses end, like 3 years after they were published.
Yeah,
it's also why every other exchange is behind Uniswap, because Uniswap writes the code that all of them use. Everyone else just kind of like augments it and implements it.
Right.
But you know, even those assets getting hammered, I think, is indicative of that like lack of
yeah, it's not like past cycles.
Yeah,
like, you know, definitely
not.
And I think that's more like why everyone feels that this cycle has been lame. It's just because like most people, most people expect an alt season, and then most people, I think, have more exposure to altcoins and meme
exactly.
coins.
And I think this time around, a lot of that like hype and money was funneled into just meme coin, like churning out like meme coins. That the fact that like over 10,000 new coins were minted like every day on Solana. At some days you just get like, you know, at some point it just became the meta shifted from, you know, what it was like the previous cycles into what it is now. As the market gets,
why like Solana outperforms Ethereum is because people are moving their money there to buy into the next moonshot that's launching every 6 minutes.
Yeah, that's what I think too, because that's like the meta this cycle. That was the meta. There wasn't really a let's see. I think there wasn't. Yeah, basically that's the meta. There wasn't really like a general altcoin market like there used to be, and now it was like more specifically like, oh, these specific, you know, shit coins. It's a lot easier to control, and then it got a lot more with like the smart contract kind of like rug pull abilities got a lot more sophisticated this time around too. Like there's a lot of
all the pump fund nonsense.
Yeah, there's a lot of contracts on like those where basically there was whitelisted trading wallets where you could create liquidity pools that, you know, only certain wallets were allowed to sell to and everyone could buy from. So like a lot of people would be able to buy the tokens, but only whitelisted wallets would be able to sell them. And that wasn't as immediately. It's not immediately obvious to people who aren't, you know, vetting smart contracts, which honestly, a lot of the times these meme coin markets move so quickly that they're just, even if you know what you're doing, you don't have time to vet this stuff and act in a timely manner to capture, you know, like the opportunity. And so overwhelmingly people get ripped off and then they don't understand what's happening. Like they buy something and they're like, why can't I sell this? And even when you explain to them like, oh, it's, you know, a smart contract fuckery with it, it's like, that doesn't like, it's not like an, oh yes, that makes sense. Yeah. It's just another scam, you know? So yeah. Homeland's Production is saying, I think there's too many scams for smart contract blockchains to take the next step. That's I feel like that problem comes from the fact that smart contract like blockchains are so accessible. Like because it's so like, because anybody can do it with like minimal effort, it's going to always attract scams. Like there's no way around that. Like if you create a technology that's easy and accessible and anyone can use it and is obviously, you know, is like anonymous compliant, like you don't have to like ID yourself, I feel like there's no way around abuse,
right?
Like, or at least
and stuff like pump
and
fund or whatever, you don't even need to have any coding skills, right? I haven't used it, but like anyone can just like launch something within minutes, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's like that.
Yeah.
There's like
It's like
instances of
gambling,
like
basically.
children doing it, like children going,
Yeah,
like
like
10-year-olds
teenagers.
or something, like going on a
Crazy,
live
and rug
stream and then like
pulling.
rug pulling the people watching them, which is like
Live.
also like is crazy from like many angles, because it's like it's crazy how easy this is, that a 10-year-old or 12-year-old can do this and actually like, you know, do it and then spin up like a $50,000 economy in the course of like a live stream. That's incredible, and that speaks volumes about the technology in play here. At the same time, it's incredible that there's an audience of people willing to put money into a fucking like digital asset created by an 11-year-old on a live stream. Like that speaks volumes about how fucking stupid the people using this incredible technology are, you know? Like and
yeah,
it's just this,
there's no reason that
Yeah.
fart coin should have like such a big market cap. Like, what the hell is that?
Yeah,
Like,
but
you know.
and I mean, I like the joke as much as anyone else. Like, ha, fart, like, ha, you know, it's funny. It's a fart,
It's like,
but
it's like millions of dollars being thrown at it, and people get hurt.
yeah,
And that's the thing. Like,
it's a very interesting, like the idea of like crypto, the tech allows you to tokenize basically anything, and so like the internet community just like ran with that and tokenized everything, like memes and jokes, and like here you can buy, you know, a fart or like whatever. Like there's literally, if you can think of something that's kind of in some way clever and coin related, it's probably already like a shit coin that's
done,
pumped
yeah.
and dumped and died already. Yeah. And it's you know, it's this casino, and it's this attractive like fairy tale of like you could put like $10 onto the right, you know, number or whatever, the right shit coin, and then
100 exit.
over like 100 million exit or something, and like like $100 turns into $1 million somehow, which is just like doesn't like it doesn't really happen, but it does happen when people like orchestrate those like big scams and stuff, and then people can point to that, like, oh, this trader traded, you know, like from $2,000 into 10 million or something,
and
it's like,
a lot of the times it's just like the same core people. That's what people don't realize. It's
but
the same
that promise
group of
is
people
so
rotating, you know, extracting money and then using the same money to then like launch something else, and then like it's the same thing, you know.
Yeah. But yeah, see, like what Homance is saying, 1/1,000,000th of a fart, that's hilarious. Like I think that's very funny that like you can own, you know, I'll give you 100th of a fart for that. Like that's funny to me. Like, and I think there's a place for that type of nonsense bullshit, like in the, you know, cyber sphere of like social media. You know, people being like, I don't give a fuck or whatever, and then just like, here, have a fart, yeah, like tipping somebody with farts or whatever. Like it's fun, but it's also like, is it worth tens of or hundreds of millions of dollars in market cap? You know, and do we expect it to then like, then I'm gonna buy one while it's let's say already at a 10 million market cap, I'm gonna buy a fart for $10 or whatever. Is it reasonable for me to expect $1,000 to like be grown from that? Like, is the fart like joke worth trillions on a global scale? Like, even if everybody uses it, that's kind of like where the pipe dream, you know, takes over, and people's imaginations just run wild, and it's this like amazing, you know, sale like pitch for a casino of like you could be the guy, the overnight crypto millionaire, you know. You don't have to do anything other than dick around with some nonsense, like click the fart button every now and then, and like that's how you can make an you know, an unimaginably lucrative living. And it's a nice pipe dream, and it's so well sold during a bull market that, you know, it
all this happens.
value.
Yeah,
like
that's the thing.
Like, because during when everything's going up, like you give people a taste of that kind of pipe dream, you know, these things until they get rug pulled. But like that's why like it's so like, oh, why don't you just buy Bitcoin or ETH? Because you can't like 1000x that shit overnight, you know, by picking the right Bitcoin. And that's, I think, this whole like, yeah, I don't know, that's where the appetite at least came for this meta of people going in nuts with meme tokens.
Right. But you know, like Bitcoin has steadily just slow and steady. That's the only thing that has just kept going up this bull market.
I would also, I feel like it's a funny idea to like, if commerce, like point of sale systems evolve to the point where you can actually pay like, you know, at your bar tab with like Lightning Network Bitcoin or any type of crypto token, like then it is funny to be like, you know, buy your drinks with fart or whatever.
I mean, if you bought when we had the bull signal, that's like 4x, like more than 4x. It's 400.
And that's just buying spot. That's not even like exactly. Leveraging long or doing any sort of like rewards incentive stuff.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's I mean, the signals have been solid. That's also why we're talking about now. What we're seeing is like an early and kind of like first signal here of a reversal in this longer term trend that just saw us pulling, you know, 4x from the last time we got our signal.
Exactly. So like we'll have to, like, if this is the so-called top or the bull market, or at least like it doesn't continue making new highs till the end of the year, then we could see like a slow sort of grind down and only find a bottom. I don't know, what's it, like 2026, so next year.
Yeah, and which would be lame.
Which actually might line up with the stock market if the stock market. I mean, the stock market is topped out, so like,
yeah,
you know what I mean. Like it's gonna. I mean, stock. I don't think it's gonna like V reverse up, and stock market like take some time to like bottom out and. You know,
yeah, so probably like
so you
mean like the stock market continues its sell off while crypto slumps down and plays out that kind of longer term curve.
Exactly, it could like. I mean, this is a stock market, but like, I mean, we shared this some time ago, but like, I believe the price has been more down. You know, has dropped further.
Yeah,
than
since
when I screenshotted this, but yeah, like, and this is like the quarterly chart that I was tracking, and there's a trend line there, and so if it loses the first, and this is the S&P 500 on the left, and then the NASDAQ on the right, and if it loses the first trend line, then the second area of support can be like 45% below, 45% below in the stock market. Now that's a huge hit.
That's a huge hit.
Yeah,
definitely, that's a recession, and that doesn't happen in a couple months.
Exactly, it doesn't happen in a couple of months. So like for the stock market, if it drops this much, then it's going to take months to find a bottom, and so that way, like I think so, like a lot of the crypto market will depend on how the stock market plays out.
Yeah,
so we'll have to see, like.
Yeah.
It's still a little early to tell, but like,
we're also looking at that fractal still, which would be a more medium-term reversal. So
let's see. I think I have it here.
There
so it is. I drew the fractal based of like the last sort of, chop, forming a base and then breaking up. So if that were the case, like it's gonna keep making lower lows and then retest and keep making lower highs until it starts like, and then finally, you flip the trend where you make a higher high and then a higher low, and then that like confirms a trend change. And so if this plays out, you're still seeing many months of just up down till a breakout. You know what I mean? It's not going to happen in a few weeks time. And so that's if you're still, in the so-called bull market, and then we are bound to make new highs. But if this is a top, then we're just gonna see a distribution pattern. So the other one would be an accumulation pattern, a Wyckoff accumulation. That's what it's called. So this would be a distribution pattern where like we have the two trend lines. These are long-term like trend lines, and then you would see price, continue to make lower lows, lower highs, and then lose the trend line, the first one, and then like drop down to the second. Like if it loses this block, like this 60, whatever this, if Bitcoin like basically loses this block,
Yeah. What's the
then,
range? What's the range of the block? It's
like how long?
yeah, like
Or
what's
like
top and bottom of the block? I mean, like price.
like around like here, so like 73.8 to like 54.5 or something.
Whew.
So if it loses this, then like, I mean, we can say that the bull market is
Then it's like
is over.
long.
Then it's like probably
Long.
playing out this thing,
Yeah.
this long term, like. So yeah, like this block needs to hold.
That's still such a long way down from where we are.
Oh yeah, that's still.
So not the worst idea to off risk a little if you feel like overextended, especially if we get that rebound. Like that's kind of what I'm looking for.
Yeah, like we can. I mean, if it's retesting, like I think like it should at least retest the strength band of our indicator. That should be around like 90, 91 maybe, at least here, right? And then make a lower high. But like you said, it can, depending on the market, like we can get a short squeeze and then like it pushes all the way to like 102.6 or whatever, like all the way here.
And we're primed a little bit for that short squeeze with everybody expecting the market to continue down, especially once we get that retest and the retest looks like it stops out. I think you get a lot more people kind of like doing what I'm expecting myself to do as well, is like off risking, selling a little bit, and then, sending that market higher short term to kind of like kill the short sellers and squeeze them before actually pushing down.
Exactly. Like it's going to take some time to form a base like this, even if it's an accumulation. And like last time, this whole, like it took 7 months for this to bottom out.
Yeah, damn.
This whole thing, like if you see like from March to October.
Yeah.
So yeah, like you can see each time retest down, retest down, retest down, until the trend like flips around here. You start making the first higher high, and then that signals a trend change. So like we could see this. Let's see. Yeah, like we could see something even like this if it's still an accumulation, and this takes time.
Yeah. That one also it's also looking for now like that little bit of a retest, even with the fractal, it's like projecting that. And even that retest looks like it's like, 93, 94 is around where it like, or even to 100K, it has room to do that, just like we're talking about.
Exactly.
But yeah, we'll have to see how this plays out. Like you said, it's going to depend also on the stock market. And then looking at the stock market, I think part of it is going to depend a little bit on the DXY. Have we looked at that at all? The DXY being the US dollar.
Oh yeah, so like,
because that was recently selling off along with the equity markets, which is weird, not what you see. Yeah, so having it drop like that while the equity markets are also dropping is a bit of a like confusing signal here.
Exactly, but it could be, I mean, it was trying to like hold this like range, but then it dropped below, but then it can still drop all the way down here, the DXY, and then still make a higher low, because technically it's made a higher high.
Yep.
The first time it's made a higher high. So even if it like, let me see. Yeah, so like if it even does this and then it can do that.
Then go to
that would still be like a
which would be
higher low.
Which would help push the equities down further if we get this.
Exactly. Or if it just bounces on this line and makes a higher low here, it could do that because
Yeah.
like FOMC is coming up next week. So
And
it is oversold, the DXY.
Yeah, so it wants to do that retest bounce, which again, it bouncing isn't super bullish for stocks or crypto, but crypto and stocks also want to do that bounce.
So a lot of volatility is like we'll have to see. Like also I think this month the quarter closes. So I think there's like 2 weeks for the quarter, the month and stuff to close. So it could, markets could still like just chop around without giving us a proper direction.
Yeah.
Until the quarter closes, and then we actually see. And by then the FOMC would be over, and then we see a proper direction after that. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll have to see. I mean, that's what, like, I trade the chart, and that's what I've always done. Like I don't really take into account like what the sentiment is, or like, what like Twitter is saying about this coin, and like I always just buy and sell just purely based on what the chart shows me.
Yeah.
And it's so like we'll just have to see, like when the chart makes a bottom, then it's just like time for a retest and all.
And Homance is asking, has the DXY and the equities dropped in previous recessions together?
That's an interesting question.
So when I looked into that too, when I saw that happening this time, I was like, oh, is this the signal of a depression, a recession? Sorry. And so looking at like 2020 during the COVID crash, like the SPY and the QQQ fell in March pretty aggressively, and then the DXY actually like spiked.
It actually so here's 2020, and then see, like the DXY, like
the DXY spiked when the market dumped.
So
but
it was inverse,
and by the way, anyone who's watching too, when you can see the cursor that Sid is holding on one side of the chart is also displaying where that same time period is on the second chart that doesn't have the mouse on it, in case you're wondering what that is. So looking back at 2008, the DXY and the QQQ crashed, and initially the SPY and the QQQ crashed, so the stock market crashed. But initially the DXY dropped, but then it rallied hard as the crash kind of got back. So it looks like it started that recession in 2008 where both fell in tandem, kind of like what we saw recently here. But then the DXY split off and started rallying while the rest of the equity market dumped.
Maybe because maybe QE started getting turned on.
Yeah.
And like the money printer started being turned on before the stock market found a bottom. Maybe that's what happened.
Yeah, I think it goes back further than 2008 too, Lance. I think you can go all the way back to like 2000 if you want to see like the .com bubble crash, 2000 to 2002.
Yeah.
You can go all the way. The DXY is tracked all the way back so you can track it during there. And it looks like, from what I'm seeing on the during the .com boom, looks like the markets fell and the DXY rose early, at least in the beginning of the crash. The DXY was rising as the markets were falling, and then the DXY started to fall, which makes sense because the Federal Reserve stepped in and started really aggressively cutting rates to help with the .com bubble burst.
Yeah, we can see that. So from here to here, they kind of was inverse, and then they
the
both
Fed
started going
turned
down.
the printer on.
So I guess typically it would like move in inverse, but I think like during like the actual, like when like circuit breakers are triggered during the stock market and we get like big moves like 5%, 7%, like the height of the crash, maybe that's when like everything
falls together.
Because like all markets, it's all like everyone's panicking,
I'd say like the 2008 financial crash is the most like like a recession. That was like an actual recession after like a market event kind of a thing, you know, which that the event back then was the housing market collapse, where subprime mortgages were, you know, no longer being settled and everyone lost their house. But during that time, we see that the DXY initially dropped with the market, which is also what we saw this time, like what we're seeing right now. But then the DXY rallied, you know, pumping as obviously as the markets continued to collapse. So it's not, I don't think it's enough of a trend between all of those crashes we just looked at, since we just looked at the 2000, the 2008, and the 2020 crashes, and the correlation between the DXY and those crashes. There's not enough of a pattern there to be like, oh yeah, every time, you know, the markets all move together in this way or something. But I do think that all of those, we see that the DXY starts rallying as the rest of the market tanks during all of those collapses, even if initially, you know, they both fell together in 2008, or initially in 2020, the DXY just spiked crazy hard as the markets tanked, which made a lot more sense, honestly, in 2022, because 2020 was such a like unique market event where it was like, oh, the world is shutting down because of a virus, because of an epidemic. So everybody wants to sell their equities into cash. So cash obviously became very strong. It was like, oh, everyone wants cash now. Like, but
like, because that was a straight up like crash, like we can see in the other ones. Like I was saying, the market usually tends to like, you know, take time to
gives you a little bit of a chance to exit, right? It gives you the signals of like, hey, it's starting to turn, like what we're looking at now, and being like, hey, these signals are coming up here. But
see, like the whatever 2008.
Yeah, see, there market, we had a good amount of time to get the
560 days for it to like bottom.
Yeah.
How many years is that? Like right? Like 560 days.
560, yeah, a little more than
for it to like start to bottom. So like, you know, and so it could usually like take that long, and even some like mini bear market. This was after COVID.
So a little more than 1.5 years.
Yeah, exactly. Like in 2022, like it bottomed only in like a year later.
Yeah.
But then you have something like COVID was like definitely like a, what do they call it, black swan event, where just say straight up like circuit breakers started like triggering, like because the candles were just dive, you know, like vertical, like it just like dives off a cliff.
It also came back so fucking fast.
Yeah, exactly, because like I think like just looking at the chart, and that's usually what tends to happen, kind of like what you were saying before. Like if you get like a straight candle like this, then like there isn't much like support or resistance, you know, like, so the price movement during just a vertical candle is going to be like faster and easier. So like, but if you get like more of the up and down whatever, then you're just like forming resistance or support, you know. Think of it like a floor, you know, or a ceiling. Like you have more, like the floor or ceiling is more thick for you to like push through, as opposed to just like there's nothing, then it's just air, then you just fall or go back up really fast. So so in a good, like even in a bull market, like, you know, if you go back to like Bitcoin, like you want to see this actually to form bases for it to sustain, as opposed to like, you know, like just do a straight out parabola, because then there's nothing to hold it when it comes down.
You can see right at the top of that parabola where it's like it holds for a second, but then when it can't hold anymore, it falls in like a matter of 2 weeks. It just like wipes all that back out.
I mean, so like visually, right? Like we had like sort of like a double top the last cycle, but you can see when the first stop happened and price fell, see it held where like there was some base here, and that's where it held too. So it's like, but this area, it's just like air. So it just like, it easily just fills it,
Yeah.
And then so like,
then we got our Head and Shoulders.
Yeah, exactly. And then that played out.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like you want to see it make bases for it to be more sustainable than just like, if you just vertically go up, then you're just gonna just drop back down. So, like meme coins and like, are like that. They just like shoot up without forming any sort of base. And then when the trend
and then
reverses,
there's no liquidity depth to that either. So like you get this price action that looks very impressive, but there really isn't much money like available, even like at those high prices. There's like pretty much no liquidity.
Yeah.
And markets like Bitcoin and the stock market and stuff have a lot more maturity to them, so a lot more liquidity, and therefore obviously aren't as crazy volatile. You can see how much cleaner, for example, when we're looking at the stock market, you can see our like indicators are a lot less faked out by the market moves. Like you can see it stays green the whole time it's on the way up. Just now is printing bear there and hasn't even flipped yet. But if you look at something more volatile like Ether, Bitcoin, it starts to be a little more colorful, a little more like
like Ether
shaken out. So it's like basically illustrating it's harder to predict because the volatility is a lot less reined in because the market is a lot more immature. And so as these markets are maturing now, we've just like we saw earlier with the banana, with the MaxiWay model for the long-term market projection, you can see it's starting to come to a pinch, which is suggesting less and less volatility. Obviously, as the market was more immature and younger, look at how much wider that is. Look at how big those candles are, up and down. We're moving,
like these first.
Yeah,
you can see this. We would get these huge parabola spikes, but like you said, with every cycle, you just see less clear of a parabola, and that's natural with any.
And you'll see also, you'll notice that the peak price stays longer. So like in the early bull runs, we'd peak up and then very steeply fall, peak up and fall pretty steeply. And now it's like
just one candle straight up.
yeah, exactly.
Like
the wick is the peak.
Exactly.
I remember for the 2020 or for the when it first hit 20K, I forget when that happened. That was probably like 20 was it 2018 something?
Oh, the first time it
when it hit
20K.
Yeah, when it hit 20K during that bull market in like December. I think it was like 2018 maybe. 2017 possibly. But either way, that like peak that lasted like less than a day.
Oh, this one here.
Yeah, like if you zoom in on that and go to like the daily chart or something and see what that looks like, and it'll be like how long is the price actually holding at 20K during that market peak.
So 2018. Oh
yeah, like you can already see how steep those wicks are. So it's like you had maybe 24 hours to capture.
Yeah, literally one day, and then like it just started like just going straight back down.
And then you can see how like aggressive that sell-off is with that huge candle, like before ever finding a bounce, and then of course the bounce being like the bounce is also pretty aggressive, like comes like a lot of the way back up from how much it had sold off. So that's that volatility of a immature market.
Oh, this huge wick.
Yeah, that wick from there back to where it came up, like how much is that?
Like 45, 50%. Oh, the wick actually extends 55%.
Yeah, a single candle that's 55%.
That's in a day,
that's a 24-hour period. Yeah, so that's like we're not getting that stuff anymore.
We're not getting that anymore. Yeah, exactly. And it's like
it does kind of indicate, the asset class itself is moving kind of, in the right direction. Getting more robust, getting more liquidity, but it's also, makes for that boring sentiment of like, the markets, this has been a lame bull run. This is like, I wanted to see, Bitcoin come up 10x, not just 4x. Which, I mean, exactly. I did too, but, but I was also, I was also ready to cut around 100 to 115K was like where I was looking at what we were talking about cutting. And now that we've gotten our lower high with a lower low, so we've gotten our weekly chart kind of starting to signal and confirm the signal of shift to bear. Now I am really looking for that retest. And like I said, when if Bitcoin moves back up to like 90, between 90 and 93, I'm happy to take the rest of my risk and kind of diversify that away from crypto a little bit while these markets play out there.
Basically, yeah, this would be like the block, you know, where the retest can happen. Like, I know it's a white block, but that's the thing. Like, that's, you can, just looking at where the wicks and the candles are.
Yeah, exactly.
Anywhere between like 91K to 100 and to 103. It
103. If it makes it to 103, that'd be. I would probably have already risked off most of what I want to sell. Honestly, at that point, I probably, maybe I'd open a few like short positions there versus like sell spot. I probably will have sold my spot by that point.
Yeah,
but that's kind of like. Our over.
I don't know. It's like kind of weird because it can, like we said, it can top out here or it can push here. So that's like a even wider.
Yeah, ETH has like a huge range. So ETH is more or less like ranging between 4K and 2K. Like, like right now it's deviated below that range with this last push down. And so that's what we're kind of saying is like we want it to relatively aggressively recover into that old range. So within the next hopefully 4 days to like 10 days, like a week, by the end of next week, it needs to basically have reclaimed that range to consider this like a deviation from that range versus considering it the range being broken and us potentially moving into a new more bearish pattern there, which is also very possible. So keeping all that in mind, kind of like at least my moving forward is to look for opportunity to off risk some more. Like we said earlier, we had shared a decent amount of this kind of stuff over at our Maxi like Discord too, and we had off risk. I think, like I said, 97K for Bitcoin is where I had sold, and then 31 for ETH. And now I had, obviously, as always, I didn't just sell everything. I sold like at least half. And so now I'm looking to off risk the remainder now that we actually got confirmation and continued down further since the initial amount of sell off we did based off of, a lower high forming. And then we were waiting, but before we got the lower low, it was like, okay, it's time to off risk a little bit. We can always buy back. So selling there wasn't obviously wasn't a bad idea, but now having a plan also to maybe take more of that capital off of the table if we rebound to that old range, 90 to 93,000, and maybe a little higher. Also, like we're saying, depending on the stock market activity, and of course, depending on how quickly we get back into that range. Like I said, if we're running out of steam and starting to look weak, then sure, I'll sell closer to 90 than 93. But if we push into 90 and fly up to 93, then I might hold out and see if we get 96 or 97 again. or like you said, up to 100, 103 or something like that. But it's going to be kind of a dynamic thing to watch and make those decisions, based on the actual price activity in the moment then. So having a plan to look for an exit, but then of course the opportunity to seize that exit moment is going to be the tentative thing here right now, with again the range being 90 to 93K for Bitcoin.
Exactly. Or you could just instead of the other thing to do is just to scale in and scale out as we always do.
Exactly.
So you're not just waiting for just one to catch the peak or top or bottom, but you just start.
Once it hits 90, then I can start
scaling out here.
Sell 20% of the stack there, and then once you start moving up, sell another 20% or so, and Yeah, that's always the move. That way you get a nice average price.
Average price.
And if it's short lived, you didn't miss the boat entirely. You did get some. You got some of your selling in in the target that you want, and then the rest you can still unload if it suddenly has turned south and you now need to run for the door. Without having had the opportunity to offer exactly where you wanted. That's a good point to make, because you're not again trying to catch the peak or buy the very bottom of the dips. You're trying to ride those positions as a long-term trend up or down, and then obviously ride them as they trend up, and then hedge your position into cash or to something else as you trend down, so that way you're not stuck holding making a good killing in unrealized profits and feeling really good about it, and then watching all that dwindle back down to nothing.
I know a lot of people have just round tripped this bull market just because they just held on to altcoins, and then altcoins haven't really made new highs, and then now it's like back to like what prices were like a year ago or whatever. It's like
it's a little demoralizing, and I do think like especially like a lot of us here from like also communities that got into like NFTs and gaming and stuff, and it's just kind of sad to see how abandoned a lot of that, like how much of a ghost town that has become, partly because obviously like the liquidity's dried up and there isn't like a lot of money to just grab off the table, but also just because a lot of people in the space have been personally burned by something or something else, and it's just kind of like soured their taste on a lot of the stuff, which is sad to see as well, because it's like at the end it is a community of people who like you get to know over time and are like real people that you kind of like have shared interests with, and it sucks when people get like ripped off. Like I know somebody over at Overnight had their shit stolen earlier today.
Oof.
Where I know they got like some, like it was like a social engineering scam where somebody like reached out to them as like a job
from
interview.
Overnight Finance.
Well, their stuff from that, like not Overnight Finance did it. It was somebody like a scammer reached out to this person, not through Overnight specifically. They just were sharing it in there because like they had like the scammer sold all of their OVN tokens.
But Overnight doesn't even have KYC, so how could they even think that anyone can reach out?
No, it wasn't from that. I'm just saying like that's where I like know the person from. He was reached out to through like a job board or some like job listing to do a job interview, and as part of like the interview, like it downloaded, I guess, their like
malware, right?
software, and and then like when he punched in his password to his MetaMask, which was not secured with the hardware wallet, just the hot wallet on his computer. But once he punched in the password, it like the malware, was able to sign permission transactions and compromise his entire MetaMask wallet, which included multiple wallets that he had on the computer. So not just the one that he was using in that moment, but like every wallet that was generated from that MetaMask seed.
That's really bad. Yeah, I've been hearing more and more of those kind of incidents, and like they send you like a Zoom link or something, but then it's actually not a Zoom link. It's like there's like one letter or just a few letters off, and then it's actually some like
a phishing
downloads thing. Like a script at the background or whatever, and then it infects your computer.
They're getting more and more sophisticated with these like social engineering scams, where like Homelance is saying in the comments, like the Lazarus Group does that too, and they recently famously hit Bybit for $1.6 billion, and it's a similar style scam where basically one of their devs was like misled by someone malicious, who then was able to like inject some kind of malicious transaction into the multi-sig
the
contract.
safe wallet thing, right?
And then for some reason there's one multi-sig safe wallet with all that money in it, but
or like it changed the UI to make it seem that it was actual.
It's impressive, like to what length scams are able to go these days. So definitely stay safe. It's Yeah, I mean, the person that like I said, I saw him in the overnight community because like people were asking about like, oh, the price had recently dropped like 10% or something, and it's like looked online, it's like, oh, somebody sold like 10,000 OVN tokens, and it's just, and then someone was like, oh yeah, I got like compromised, and the like exploiter, unstaked and sold all his OVN.
Oh, shit.
Which is like,
so that made the price to crash.
Yeah, it took the price down like 6 or 7. So I guess it is a buying opportunity, I guess. But I mean, it sucks. It sucks that it's someone who's been in that community for like a long time and participates. And it's the same with like, I know people in like the NFT space too, who's like, were around often and like really fun people until they got scammed by this guy or that project or whatever rug pull, and then they just like leave the entire space, and you never hear
because
from
they
them
burned
again.
so badly.
Yeah,
and you don't have any more capital left. You're done. Like, what are you gonna? It's all probably all your savings.
That was pretty much what the person who got hacked today was saying too. He's just like, I still like all this stuff, but I have to like concede here. I'm done. Like, I don't have any money left. I mean, 10,000 of those tokens were worth like $11,000, and that was the only thing you got robbed. So
yeah,
that
was
sucks.
just one.
I mean, that's more than
in his wallet.
I like overnight. I don't have that many OVN. That's a shit ton.
Yeah,
like sucks. And I'm sure he also didn't buy them for $1. Like, pretty sure those were represented a pretty big investment that was probably already a bit underwater, but it doesn't change the fact that like now the hope of recovering is completely gone. Like there's always that like you haven't sold it, you believe in a project and the team behind it and stuff. It's like, sure, I'm down like 30% on something, but I see I see the value proposition, or I have conviction for whatever reason. That just doesn't exist when you've been robbed, like I still have like the Lazarus group got me with the Horizon Bridge hack, and I still have some one USDC on Harmony,
the depegged one.
I'm still waiting for that to get its peg back. I was told 3 years, and that was what, like 3 years ago. Let me see. Looking at that,
and if this is the end of cycles, like, because anyway, like,
then how are they going to recover the peg? It's
exactly.
It's 20 cents now instead of. I think it was like 8 cents at one point, but it looks like I can get 19.52 cents per one USDC on that. Still holding it, Lance.
So if BTC loses this block, then are you gonna like just sell what you have, even though it's get what you can?
Oh, like with my remaining Bitcoin position. Yeah, I think so.
I mean, if we see it, because like the whole crypto market depends on Bitcoin, right? Like whether it's in bull or bear. So like if Bitcoin loses this block, then that means like the bull market is topped. So it's highly unlikely to see the peg going up after that.
Yeah,
is what
I
I'm
guess.
saying.
So
like,
then just like take the 20 cents to the dollar and be like, whatever. I guess I should do that. It's a painful amount. It's a painful amount of USDC.
Well, yeah, we all got. We all got burnt with that.
I'm looking at it right now. It's 18,763.71 USDC.
That's what you would have got. But
that's what it was. That's what it was at one point. 18, almost 19,000, and right now it sells for 19.52 cents, which gives me a total. If I sell it all right now, assuming there's enough liquidity at this price point, $3,662.57.
Take it.
It's still like that's not nothing. That's worth like salvaging, but god damn, it feels not good to have to take that loss. I mean, it's already happened, it's not like I'm not at that massive loss, but god, it just feels like the hope of it reaching peg again, is still there. It's still there, like in the back of my mind. I'm like, that could come back. Yeah,
but we don't know if the peg is topped out. Like,
yeah, I would be surprised to be real. I'd be surprised to see it come back. It's I don't know that Harmony Chain is doing anything that like merits it like surviving another cycle if there's going to be another cycle.
Yeah, totally.
And while I loved how cheap everything was on that chain and how quick it worked, it's like, well, Wax is cheaper and faster and hasn't been exploited for $100 million and also isn't coming back. So like, you know, looking at it from like a perspective of like, well, it's cheap and fast and capable. It's like, so's a lot of stuff, and a lot of stuff hasn't been exploited and has a huge community of people who are like sour. Like, even if it came back and they got the peg back, I wouldn't like go back to like fuck with stuff on the chain. I would get my money out.
Yeah, totally.
You know, like if it was suddenly like, oh, we
because you're just looking
everything.
At exit liquidity.
Yeah, it's like, duh, I just want my money back at this point. But it's also like, yeah, probably not going to happen. It's still, that would amount to what, a $15,000 loss, which is not bad compared to how much I was able to save. In the moment of it all coming crashing down around us. But I mean, then, you know, at the end of that, it was only worth like 7 or 8 cents per USDC. And I know some people bought USDC there expecting it to hopefully come back to peg and
lost even more money. I know.
Yeah, some people lost even more. And then there's some people who, you know, if you did buy it 10 cents, it's 20 cents now. So
I think his total loss, like at least like it was like close to 100K.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Let's see total everything.
And it's also such a hard decision to make, though, to like, you know, suffer a loss in the moment to like cash everything out and just run for the hills the second something seems like it has happened, but you haven't gotten like official word yet. But yeah, that's what we had done at the time. We were like, we saw
I still took like a 40K something loss. So
yeah, it was harsh. I was at least able to get some out, and then I got a really fucking lucky, where I recovered like another 10,000 or something like that. Nice. from the WAGMI treasury.
Oh, really?
Because they like their assets. It was like you deposit it into their treasury, because whatever you deposit into their asset on the Harmony chain, they would personally bridge back to mainnet and then store as Ether mainnet assets on the treasury. So all the backing stuff wasn't wrapped bullshit. It was actual native assets. So I like, and then so I saw WAGMI was depegging with everything else. So I bought like with all the rest of the shit I had on that wallet, I bought WAGMI.
Can't believe WAGMI did better.
Yeah, and then and then they like they were like, well, this chain is dead, so we're just gonna pay back everybody who has, and they paid back in USDC on Avalanche blockchain. I had to like go through some weird claim process, but I got like almost 10 grand out of that, and it was like such a fucking like welcome thing to see. I mean, honestly, yeah, I mean, Lance is laughing his ass off about WAGMI, but yeah, WAGMI, dude. Like they made it. They made it. They did a good job. That fucking Viper dev who was behind that shit, like as much as he just fucked off when his stuff didn't go well, he never rug pulled people. He paid out the stuff. Like sure, the shit amounted to nothing, but like
rebase.
I like that guy, man. Like, what the fuck did he make after Viper Squad? The witch.
All right, real quick for anybody audio listening, we have a giveaway going. Type !neon in your Wax wallet if you'd like to join. We'll give away some woofy meme tokens.
Yeah. I couldn't believe that though. The WAGMI, dude. Of all the things, that was the most dumb. Like, definitely, I'm gonna lose my money on this, and that was the thing I didn't get rugged on.
Yeah, like because I remember also writing WAGMI up because when it launched, we were like, okay, we're
printing money.
It was printing money. The APR was like insane, and then I was just like selling every day. I would like take the money, sell it for stables,
and it worked.
And then it worked.
It paid.
We were tracking the chart, and the chart like looked topped, and then we're like, okay, fine, we're going to stop with this, and then it just kept going down.
Yeah. I mean, those things like they're short lived, but they play. You know, they played their role, and you can play them well. It's just like that was the meta for a hot minute. That was initially started by I think Time and Wonderland was the name of the original project, which still exists. It's like a rebase thing. It's nonsense,
rebased
But-
to 0.
Yeah, that was the meta for a second. Like a bunch of people launched forks of that, like Mad Meerkats.
4 million APY or some shit like
Yeah, MM Finance was one on Kronos chain that I played with.
that. Oh yeah.
Trying to think of some other ones, but yeah, that was the meta for a hot minute.
And then I feel like every cycle has had its thing. Like this cycle had meme coins. Last cycle was NFT and and all these like LP farms.
It's crazy how hard NFTs did not come back.
Yeah,
I still think like there has to be like
it's gonna be like that. If we get that bull cycle,
it has to be a retest.
altcoins,
You know what I mean?
It's gonna follow the NFTs should follow. Also, I feel like there is like developments at least in the NFT like infrastructure. Like OpenSea's new like model isn't terrible, and then I think a couple like immutable markets have been like building some interesting like I guess like the infrastructure that's like going to support a boom in NFTs is been built out a lot more well these days. Like there's tools for like trading NFTs the way that you would trade like regular fungible tokens with like liquidity pools and bots and stuff, which is kind of cool. But yeah, I mean the interest it did not come back like in a huge way, almost the way that it didn't come back to the altcoins at all. Like the altcoins
and I think like
forgotten.
The money went to memes, so it's like
that
has to stop for it to flow back into other things or to the other old things or like something totally new. You know what I mean? Like
I almost feel
because
like
it's the same money being sloshed around, like you know what I mean?
I feel like even with like Wax, I wouldn't be surprised if like the market cap of Woofy is higher than the market cap of Wax these days. Like, you know,
it'll be fun.
Like they leaned into the meta, which I feel like you can't really blame them. But let's see the Woofy market cap. Let me look it up real quick. Woofy market cap, $18.5 million market cap.
It's gotta be lower than Wax.
Yeah, let's see what's Wax. Wax P. Wax. Let's see. Yeah, Wax is 82 million market or 81.6 million. So
I mean 99% of NFT projects did not deliver what they were trying to. Even the ones like sure, there's a bunch of fucking fringe shit on Wax made by like people who had no business making projects, but then even like Bored Apes, the amount of money Bored Apes raised, like what tangible product have they released with the millions and millions and millions they got in funding?
Right.
Like they were working on a metaverse. I don't know if that ever came out. They sold land. They did the same thing that like everyone Wax did. We'd seen it all at that point. We're just like, launching a token with like promised future utility use cases that don't exist right now. Like that's
not
never gonna work. Like we've seen that fail over and over. And it's like, oh no, they'll be fine because they're Bored Apes. But like, I don't know. It's like even at the highest level, like
they just wasted their money is what's gonna happen. Like they're gonna run out of treasury money eventually. And they had an absurd amount of money, like millions of dollars a day or something like that.
Yeah, I guess like my point is if they couldn't make it work, like why would anybody else be able to? And why would like the hype come back to like if like the industry leader is failing, like the person that's doing the best, then like why would all the smaller projects also like get interest? And then the gaming, like there still isn't really a great like close to AAA NFT game. So it's like the product just isn't there. And like I don't know. There's definitely all like the same people that are buying like Kanye coin on Solana were the people that were buying the NFT items.
You mean Kanye?
Whatever, you know what I'm saying?
Or
like,
swastika.
It was a gamble. It was never like real gamers were not the people behind NFT gaming. It was a bunch of people investing in speculative assets, hoping that was adopted by gaming. But the adoption to gaming that has not.
Right. So it's like people hoping for the same like thing with meme coins. They're just like whatever. They want the
although with gaming at least I understand like what they're hoping for is going to come from. With the meme coins I'm like a little lost.
Honestly, I almost respect meme coins in a way where they're like at least transparent that it's fucking
yeah,
hot
exactly.
air. Like games were selling you an idea that never came to. The meme coins aren't even trying to sell you an idea. There's like, this is bullshit. Throw your money at it.
Yeah,
maybe enough people
exactly.
throw their money at this bullshit that we'll all get rich together, which is like delusional, crazy people shit. But like, at least that's the way they're pitching it, not like, oh
That's
yeah,
true.
like we have a product. All we need is your money to build that product, and that'll attract more people and then make you money. Which was like the whole NFT gaming thing that just didn't work.
Right.
I don't know if
Yeah.
there's a single example of a NFT game that like was created in 2020 to 2022 that like you would have been better buying in then than now if you wanted to play it.
That was also always the issue with NFT gaming, is that it was never priced for the gamer market to begin with.
Yeah. It
Like
was
they priced that
just for
stuff.
the crypto degens.
Yeah, like they're like, oh, you want to play this game? You want an avatar? $500 mint price. What's the last game you played where you spent $500 on an avatar? Or like, let's just like put the avatar side. $500 for like the full, like the buying the game and anything else that you got for the game. The last time I bought
the
like
average price of a
$70 for a AAA title,
game.
brand new game.
Wow.
Like when Diablo hit the shelves, it was $70.
Yeah,
Like-
these guys and just one NFT was like whatever, they wanted $500 for it. Like, yeah, that does make sense.
It's
The
bananas.
economics doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah, it's bananas. They like,
So yeah, like the average gamer who, I mean, the gamer guys who are not interested in crypto, like you said, they're clearly not gonna buy it. Like,
no.
they see no use for it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I do think we're finally getting to the point where like the accessibility makes sense. It's just the product isn't there. Like the onboarding for NFL Rivals on mobile is like,
That's true. Yeah.
that's where it needs to be. Like it's, you sign up with an email, you don't hold your private keys, you don't pay anything to create a wallet. There's no like sending them your ID. Like you just download actually you don't even need to use your email. If you want to sell stuff on their marketplace, then you need to use an email. But like you can download the game and play it for free, all in the App Store, Android, iOS, and then you can use your credit card
Ooh, excuse me.
or your whatever your Apple Pay to open packs. Those packs contain NFTs, which they're not even labeled as NFTs in the game. I forget they're called. They're like
Interesting.
collectibles or cards or whatever, but like, yeah, like all that, and then you can list it like in their game marketplace, and then you're selling the NFT. And if you don't do it through the website, you don't get a currency that you can withdraw. You only get an in-game token. So like you get just a premium currency that you can use to buy more NFTs in the in-game marketplace. But then if you go to the website and log in through that and list on their marketplace, then you get Myth, which you can then withdraw and then sell on centralized exchanges or decentralized exchanges. But like you have to know to go on the website and log in. Like if you don't know the website exists, like you're not doing anything. Like you're not managing crypto. You don't even know that you have crypto. Like you're just using fiat and in a premium in-game currency, which is not even crypto. The in-game currency is not withdrawable. But like all that should happen.
What's the point, right? Then
in the background.
Well, the point is like if you are savvy to the shit,
you don't know,
you can participate, and if you don't know, then like it doesn't matter. Like,
yeah, I mean, the people that are using their in-game currency are buying my NFTs listed on the website. It is then converted from the in-game currency to Myth through their marketplace, and then I receive Myth. So even though they don't know they're buying stuff with crypto, they're giving me crypto for my NFT assets, and then I am able to withdraw to Uphold and cash out. So like, yeah, I don't know. It's like it has to be that easy though. Like, anytime you're like, in order to play this game, you need to fund a crypto wallet and pay a gas fee.
Yeah, that itself is
aren't
like,
coming.
I'm out.
Not fucking happening. So I do think like the onboarding is getting smooth enough that like if there was a product that was better than what's happening in Web 2, as they like to call it, then like it has to be a better product. It can't be this is a shittier version of that, but because you can sell the skins, like that's why this is good. Like it has to be better than what's offered in the non-crypto space to attract like the gamers. So I do think like it's taken years, but the infrastructure is finally there that like you could onboard people, like, and people have got to figure that out. But like, yeah, you like NFL Rivals is not better than Madden Mobile. Like it's not. and pretty much all of the games that are in the NFT space are like poor imitations of popular games. Like people are like, Fortnite's the biggest game in the world. Let's just make 1 million battle royales with NFT skins, and then everybody will get rich. Like, trust me. Like, this will be the 1 in a million game that like.
This is the game that your kids will still be playing this game.
Yeah, I mean, it's even if you play Web 2 games. Like, I mean, I always say this. Like most Web 2 games, like the player base is huge launching weekend for the first month, and then by like 6 months in,
it just like drops off.
Yeah, it's like hard to even find a game, and that's for like well-designed Web 2 games that have nothing to do. Like people that have been designing games for years and years and years that have had multiple successful hit games are still having issues. Like that one that I was playing for a minute where like you control 2 agents. It's like Valorant, but you can like teleport between people. Yeah, that was a really cool concept, really original. It was being promoted by Shroud, who's a former professional Counter-Strike player. Like that game's dead. Like it was like took years to launch it. They tried to promote it. Like there's just no active player base, and like it was a fun, decent game. But it's like if shit like that is failing, like of course your rinky-dink, poorly designed NFT game that is janky as fuck and not even fun to play is not going to attract a large enough player base to increase the value of the assets you bought for it. But
yeah,
I don't know. I still like believe in the concept of NFT gaming, but like it makes sense to me why it's in the state that it's in. People,
it's not taken off.
Inexperienced people try to develop games that were not game developers, took a bunch of people's money, and then basically just lost it all. And it's like, why don't people want to buy this anymore?
I also feel like what Homelance is saying is true. Like it feels weird to pay more than $30 for a full game. Like you just bought Random King says you just bought one for a game for like $3 or $4. Like the cost of what gamer communities are like expecting to pay for good games isn't anywhere near what like crypto community like bros are being shilled stuff at. And then at the same,
most games, their whole business model is freemium. Like you pay nothing, and then there's battle passes and there's content unlockable through paywalls, and that's sort of the meta. Which honestly, all that stuff works with NFTs. Just the game has to be good. Like the game isn't fun, people aren't going to play it. And all those freemium games, like it's free to get you in the door, and then it's fun enough to suck the money out of you. That's the whole business model. But like the thing sucks, people aren't going to keep coming back or buy skins for it.
That's for sure. It's also like a harder, I think, push then for game developers to want to include NFTs, because game communities have like a dislike of NFTs.
Well, that's what I was saying. Like Mythical does it perfect, where it's like, you don't even. There's like people playing NFL Rivals that have no fucking idea
that it's NFTs
or any of that stuff. They enjoy the game, so they keep playing it.
Yeah, that's exactly how it needs to be. It like you shouldn't like need to know anything about NFTs to be using them, and that's ultimately what it will be. Similar with crypto, I think too. Like I think a lot of the stuff could be like under the hood, settlement systems where like you don't necessarily know
create a wallet and know your seed phrase. And
like you just get your like credit card issued from your bank account, and then when you swipe your credit card, there might be like a blockchain underneath the hood doing all that stuff, but you don't know shit about it. Like that's how it most likely will actually be implemented. It's kind of like the same way that like people know what the internet is, but like nobody really knows like TCP. It's it as like Chrome. You're going to launch your Chrome browser, and that's the internet is like Google, it's not like, it's not this like communication protocol the same way that like, crypto is going to be like, oh, crypto is my credit card. It's not that like, oh, crypto is a immutable like international blockchain ledger, like nobody it's the same exact thing.
I think that's how it always should have been though, is like focusing on the products and the user experience and not the theory and the tech. Like that's not what's ever going to catch on mainstream. Like it has to be a better experience for people, even if they don't know why. Like, I mean, people know their experience. They know if they like using things, and then like,
totally.
Yeah, which I do think we're headed in the right direction, but just growing pains.
Well,
I think.
Meme coins ain't helping, so.
Yeah, I think that I didn't say it earlier, but like, I think that also kind of like shines a light on how much more mainstream crypto's got. Because like 10 years ago, people were not in crypto to trade meme coins or like. I mean, I guess there's a bit of a community aspect, but like,
I mean, Doge was still was.
But it's still like the
that.
people you found in crypto were more like interested in the fundamentals of crypto. They were interested in the technology. They were interested in like decentralization was very important for people. Like people, if they can throw money at something centralized that could 100x, is complete nonsense. Like a huge portion of crypto will do that. And I don't think that would have flown like 10 years. Like people that were into it were the kind of people that were fringe. Like, I don't trust the government. I don't trust banks. I don't like people getting into crypto or fringe society, people that were into weird shit, like dark web stuff. Like, but I feel like there were kind of like ideals around that are not important to people that are now in crypto, which I think is like part of the reason why the cycles are ending and stuff, because it's not like
now it's just like
it has reached the general public, the people who did not get into it for the tech or the ideals or like the experiment or anything. That people are just like, basically I want to gamble. Like, this is my casino.
Yeah, I feel like we've reached kind of like the market adoption phase that you categorize as like early majority. Like, sure, it's not like a mainstream asset yet, but like it's also, you're not the early adopters anymore. You know, if you're getting into crypto today, you're more part of the early majority than you're part of the early adopters crowd. Like, eventually there'll be a majority of people using this stuff, but right now, not yet. Like, and again, it'll be without people knowing that they're using it. Kind of like Pigwig saying how they're pivoting Nanotopia that way too, where it's like, you're not going to know it's a NFT game or any of that stuff because you might just be onboarding through Telegram and you don't need to know. And that's kind of what it should be, because it is at the base level, like the technology, it's a technology like layer for, you know, community, like to build on top of. It isn't like, it was never like, the idea of Ethereum was never to be like, oh, and then you buy these units, you know, and then you trade them back and forth with you. The whole point of the units is that they're the utility token that you spend on gas to push smart contracts. You know, it's like, it's not money,
which people didn't. I guess they don't see it that way.
No,
I also think
not anymore.
Ethereum's advancements are like the biggest risk to layer 2. Like people are like, well, layer 2 not work for this. It's like, if Ethereum becomes cheap enough, you don't need layer 2. Like,
exactly.
I could see a lot of chains dying in the future because like Ethereum, like a lot of shit that made Ethereum unusable already is so much better. Like, it's getting still not as good as a lot of the layer 2s, but like I feel like there's going to reach a point where like, why would you do anything outside of Ethereum? Like, if Ethereum is as cheap and as fast as the layer 2s, then there's no purpose for layer 2s.
For some of my bigger like liquidity pools, I was moving them through ETH mainnet because that's where the liquidity depth is to move that amount of like assets, and it cost me like $1.80 or something. You know, like something like, reasonable. It wasn't.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
like,
it wasn't crazy.
Even when we've talked about this, but when like you get those huge like volatile moves, like, you know, if
the layer 2s fall apart anyway.
Like ARB or something, like ARB chain, the gas is like hundreds of dollars.
I've been on ARB where I couldn't, like I can't close my long or short position because the cost of the gas is higher than the value of the entire position. Which is nuts on a layer 2 for ETH.
And then ETH is like whatever, $10 or something. Like,
at the same time, it's like, okay, so I can just play this on mainnet. I don't know. So I think those problems do get solved. There is definitely like a lot of improvements that have happened to the Ethereum virtual machine. At the end of the day, I do think layer 2s won't ever phase all the way out, but I think they'll become more and more specialized. Like, Sony's launching their own layer 2, and it'll be like a layer 2 for Sony's products, and then you'll have like a layer 2 for like, you know, if you wanted to interact with, I don't know, like I'll trade options on Derive, right? That's its own like layer 2. So like I could see something like GMX, for example, and like running similar to DYDX, where like it just runs on its own blockchain, and so like this one layer 2 roll up of Ethereum
so it's
or
just
of
for
Arbitrum
that app
is it's just for that ecosystem. And so therefore, when trading volumes get really high and crazy, I'm not competing with the rest of the Arbitrum to broadcast my trade Like, and that's why when I was on like on Derive recently, when the markets were spiking, I was able to make orders, cancel limits, set all that stuff, no problem, because it's all on its own layer 2, and it does that layer 2 isn't suddenly overwhelmed with a bunch of other bullshit.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of goes back to my entire point, though, that it's all about the product. Like, if your layer 2 doesn't have a product that people want to use, people aren't going to just use it because it's cheap or whatever, you know? So, like, which I feel like is, like, the selling point for a lot. I mean, we've definitely been in crypto for a long time. I remember, like, Redcoin's a selling thing is like, oh, you can make a username on this. Like, the most basic thing is, like, we're going to sell an entire blockchain based on this very basic concept where, like, I don't think you're going to be able to do that. Like, I mean, I don't think you can even do that now. Like, I guess now, like, the thing is, oh, there's like a bunch of fat DeFi rewards. So, like, jump in while the APR is hot and it's hot potato and it keeps moving from one to another. But, like, even that, I think, is going to, like everything is going to run its course eventually. And people to see is not sustainable. Like, as we saw with NFT gaming, and even, like, meme coins were still kind of in the thick of it. But I don't know that in 4 years from now, you're going to be able to launch a Kanye 3.0 coin and then immediately get like $100 million market cap somehow within like 30 minutes. Like, the insane shit that's happening now, like, I don't know. I think products are going to become more and more important. Also, look at this. I'm on the Sonium website. Looks like they already have a NFT you can mint if you want one of these weird-ass dogs.
Free? Yes. Hello.
Is that the Sony L2?
Sony, yeah, Sonium. Yeah, that's live. They launched that like not long ago. I want a dog. I want to mint a dog. Hold on.
Do they have their own token? I was trying to find it.
I don't think they do. I think they use ETH.
And I can click the mint and see what happens. AIBO by Sony. It says like 2018. Is this like a dog that existed before?
Oh.
Why is it when I click mint, it takes me to the buy on fucking...
Yeah, that's not mint.
There's also 9 million of these. Is that right?
What?
Maybe they were minted. No, this chain isn't that old.
What's the price history? I don't even see, like...
No price history, it says.
Is it not listed?
It maybe just never sold. Click on activity on the top left there.
But I mean, that should still tell you the price. Maybe they're like not listable. These are probably like...
oh, maybe. Like a
soul bound or whatever they call them.
Yeah.
Wait.
Like non-transferable tokens. Could be. But where do we mint them?
I mean, I clicked the button that said mint now.
Yeah.
It did not let me go. It's probably over.
Why does Sony has its own chain or whatever?
Oh, they're getting into like their own like ecosystem stuff. So they're gonna have, I think Uniswap is deploying on Sonium. It's a fork of the Optimism stack. Oh, look, they're partnered with fucking. That's GMX's.
Alchemy, Chainlink, Circle, Optimism.
This is still the same Sony company that we're talking about.
Sony, like one of the biggest media hubs in the entire world. Yeah, they have their own blockchain.
It's like, it's like a subset though. It's like the Sony Block Solutions Labs was formed. So
yeah,
if this project fails, it's not taking all of Sony down with.
Yeah, that's true. They have a nice like buffer.
Now Sony's gonna rug pull people.
Yeah, Sony's the next big rug pull. I mean, ultimately, I think it's more about like
Bitcoin.
I think the reason they want to do this is because they are interested in getting into like the NFT or tokenizing IP or whatever game that is clearly not going to go away, right? Like this is here to stay, but I don't think that they are willing to take the IP that they own and then mint it or distribute it onto a public blockchain. So instead, they're going to have their own blockchain roll up, and then that's where all of their IP stuff will live. So like their NFTs, if they're gonna do like some type of Sony coin or some kind of whatever, it'll be like within their ecosystem, so that it's a little more controlled.
So they can like control.
Yeah, and then so they can also give.
Supposedly, it's a decentralized blockchain, though.
Yeah, which is kind of awesome. But then I think that's the reason why they don't want it is a decentralized blockchain because it's a implementation of the Optimism stack. So just like Arbitrum or something, it's like,
it's a layer 2.
It's a layer 2. Yeah, it's an OP stack like implementation. Last time I checked, it was anyway.
This is gonna be our last call to you for this giveaway. This will be our last giveaway. I think we're
we gotta run. I gotta run and get a haircut here. It's Barber Day.
So long, dude.
Weird times in crypto.
But yeah, weird times. Exactly. You got big companies coming into this game, and at the end of the day, I feel like that's the bigger takeaway from this. Isn't like that I'm upset about like all these players getting into it. It's more that I'm like excited that they take the technology seriously enough to allocate company resources to create their own optimism stack. Like, and a company like Sony getting into a space like this legitimizes the space, in my opinion. Like,
I mean, for years, I mean, we looked at Square Enix's like, whatever report from like 2021 when they were like, we believe tokenization and NFT gaming will be a part of the future. There's like the way people are doing it right now is fucked up and losing people tons of money, and we don't want to subject our customers to that. So we're going to sit on the sidelines and kind of see what works and what doesn't, and then like regroup once we like it's less of the wild west, like once the dust settles. So the big names have already been looking at this stuff for a while, just like it's been a horrible user experience for anybody who's bought into an NFT game in the last couple of years. And these companies are, you know, at least somewhat smart enough to understand that they need customer retention. If you want to sell fucking Final Fantasy 26, Final Fantasy 25 has to be good enough to keep people coming back. So like they're smart enough to know that they don't want to tarnish their entire legacy with some like pump and dump, which I think is smart. I also think like that's why they need centralization and like their own shit. So I think the way they're doing it is the way it should be done. It's just, I mean, we still don't really know. Like we haven't seen any AAA real titles launched on the blockchain. So
and I think also
to see what they do with it.
Part of that is also that they're not going to own all the IP for everything that they put out. And so being able to like offer their like, you know, partners the ability to have like, you know, an ecosystem that maybe they have a little bit more of a centralized control over, kind of like how the drop market exists on Wax, where there's assets that are dropped through that marketplace that can't be sold on the actual like public side of the blockchain. And that is the side of the, you know, market where they drop certain like Disney properties and certain stuff that's like, okay, it's still technically an NFT, but it can only be traded on this like centralized market. And the reason for that is because, well, Disney is pretty strict about what their IP is allowed to be, you know, traded on, or how they distribute their IP. And I think they understand, like Lewis said, they've been watching these spaces. I think they know the opportunity, especially as like the worlds get more and more digital, and this is a way for like digital intellectual property to become like tradable. Like they clearly know that there's opportunity there, but like Lewis said, they're established people. Like it could cost them a lot more money than it can make them if they just rush into this and then burn everybody who, like, you know, all the Disney fans jump into some like half-baked NFT thing and then suddenly like gets rug pulled and lose them all money. That can hurt Disney way more than they could ever stand to make from the NFTs. So they are way more incentivized to sit on the sidelines, watch all this insane shit play out.
Disney's not the best example for that because Disney's been NFTs for years now.
Yeah, but they do it very like centralized, is what I'm saying. Like,
but
like, so they don't have, they're incentivized.
They still jump in and, you know, arguably are burning people on prices of stuff.
That's true. But at least they can cover
like
that.
Vive is like the Disney collectible blockchain. Vive is like,
oh, that's true,
centralized complete fucking nonsense where it's like you can't withdraw money from Vive unless you have over $800 balance. So if you buy $400 worth of Disney collectibles and sell them all, your money's just stuck there. They're like, you need to buy and sell more shit to get your money out of this ecosystem. It's like
is not a small
Vive is like, it might have changed. I remember I looked into it. I was like, oh shit, Disney's doing blockchain stuff, and like they have Marvel and Star Wars, and like Vive is like huge properties, but it's like it's a pretty horrible user experience. That's what I was like, I don't know, like I'd say Drop is better than what Vive is doing, but even Drop is pretty like I don't like Drop exclusives. I really think like everything should be distributed, centralized.
I agree.
With the ability to bridge to decentralized that way, like
and
they
like
can stop any fucking leaks from the distribution through their centralized systems. There's too much exploitation and buying, smart contract, like all that weird shit when it comes to like the distribution of stuff, or like if people can mint game assets right to their wallet and then they have control of their wallet and they can like fuck over the entire game economy with one exploit. But like a centralized system, you can freeze that, or you can be like, hey, like you can't withdraw the shit for 24 hours. And if we see you're withdrawing 9 bajillion game tokens that you couldn't possibly earn, we will freeze your account. And then that's just locked.
Yeah,
which is against what a lot of people believe for crypto. But
that's true.
Unregulated, decentralized shit does not work for gaming. Like
No, or
I'm
collecting
willing to
and
stand
stuff,
by that
or
after
for IPs in general.
watching that happen on Wax. And even, I don't know, even like the credit card scamming shit where people like take stolen credit cards and then they buy packs and then they sell the packs. That way they can essentially like funnel.
Yeah, and
wash
by the time the credit card company's like, hey, that's fraud. The pack has been bought and sold and the money's gone. It's crypto. They can't get it back.
And like if that's all happening decentralized, like whoever's
Yeah.
selling that shit, you're gonna have to refund the money.
That's why you're very hard to press to find credit card companies willing to like let you buy drops and stuff with credit cards, because it's pretty hard to.
But it is possible. But
It's
it's
possible.
generally through
It has to be,
centralization,
yeah.
through like the drop marketplace or like the Apple Store and shit with like mythical
Yeah.
stuff. And
Yeah, like you
You
said,
also have to,
Mythical. I
like-
think Mythical really did a good job of like pioneering this economy where it works like it's all very self-contained, but then also has like a public-facing side. Like the fact that you can bridge your stuff to ETH mainnet and then trade it on OpenSea is cool. Nobody's fucking doing that, but you can do it.
I don't even know if you can anymore. You could for Blankos for a minute, but that was when it was on EOS. Now it's all on Polygon.
Yeah,
So
that's
if you could bridge it anywhere, it'd be like Polygon.
right. Yeah, it trades on Hydra. Hydration is where you can trade your myth tokens.
Interesting.
I don't
Right.
know. I'm still excited.
I
think
do
shit
think
just
these
takes a lot
markets-
longer than like, in like 2020, 2021, we're like, oh yeah, there's gonna be like a AAA NFT game by the end of the year for sure. Like we're hitting this right as the lightning's striking, and we're gonna be the first people into this. First game we buy into, Our Planet, is gonna be a AAA art. It's the next StarCraft. I own the first ever hero skin from that, so I'm gonna be rich for sure.
No question.
I don't think that's how it's going down. I also don't think play to earn is a real like I don't think if you're a professional video game player, like you're earning money through eyeballs, like if you're streaming, then you're essentially selling advertisements is what you're doing. The same thing you do if you are on television. You're getting paid because advertisers want the people watching your shit.
Yeah.
Or you play competitively and you win tournament money, just the same way advertisers sponsor the tournament because people watch that shit. But like either you have to be very good or very entertaining to make money at games. I don't think like the average person's ever going to just be able to like make any sort of. You might be able to make like I don't know $5 every month and a half playing a game you enjoy. That's like NFT, but like thinking you can make like thousands of dollars playing video games when you're not even like a good video gamer or like a personality.
Yeah.
Pretty delusional. And I was even a part of that camp where I was like, yeah, I'm gonna fucking get rich playing Our Planet, but like I don't know that that's ever gonna happen. Like that just doesn't seem realistic to me. Like it's entertainment, it's not work.
Yeah, exactly.
Agreed.
But yeah, I mean, we watched.
Away.
Yeah, we looked at the markets today. We saw what we're like. We saw basically the longer term signals here are forming lower lows, lower highs, and we're getting indications that it might be time to off risk some from crypto and from stocks. And so what we're looking for, just to recap what we talked about earlier, is a bit of a short term retest, hopefully, to Bitcoin at 90 to 93K before we continue dropping and potentially making lower lows. And then we talked about hopefully the crypto markets, the altcoin markets get their pump still. It hasn't looked good for that. And hopefully we get the NFT markets coming back. Oh, Vive. Yeah, this is Disney's chain. BuzzKing says that they also take a big percentage when you cash out. But I didn't catch how much the percentage was.
I want to say shit's pretty expensive here too. So you're saying you're like, yeah.
Nobody from the community even talks about it. I have never heard it.
Right. These are all like digital collectibles. So like NFTs from Disney.
Yeah. Yeah, they have like all the Marvel, all the Star Wars. Like they have by far the biggest IP of like.
Yeah.
It's also kind of interesting. Like I kind of thought this was going to happen in Polygon, but like.
Right. Same.
Yeah, this is like they have booths at like Comic-Con. Like you can probably scan and get a free NFT at Comic-Con from Vive with all the Marvel shit. So like this is definitely like again, this is not for the crypto degen people. This is for the average person. The average person that wants to just buy collectibles Don't give a fuck about
Doesn't care.
decentralization or like the blockchain side. Like that's all crypto nerd shit. Like the average person just wants something that works where they can get their cool shit. And this is good enough for.
Yeah, the JPEG, like it's just like the movie poster.
Yeah,
that's it. It's like, why would you like buy it as an NFT?
Because I'm a big fan. Because I'm a big fan. I want to collect the JPEG. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think like 3 years ago today or yesterday, Beeple sold his NFT for $69 million.
Yeah, I remember that.
That happened like 3 years ago.
Wonder what it's worth now.
Like $80 million. If you're talking about what the ETH is worth today.
Oh, right, because
it's worth more than it was back then, even after the current price dump. What the actual NFT is worth, I don't know.
Yeah,
who's buying? there's zero liquidity, so it depends on whatever the next guy's paying for it.
I don't even know how you find. I'm sure Beeple has like a OpenSea artist account where you can.
Yeah, I mean, I remember he also cashed out. He cashed out the ETH immediately and got a bunch of shit.
Smart guy. That's what you do.
The community was like ripping him, and I mean, like I said, even in today's ETH price, it still would be worth 80 million, not 69. It's like he'd still be up like $10 million if he held it. Although he would have been able to cash out for like 200 million at one point.
Yeah,
but of course he's not like speculating.
Once you're past,
also, yeah, that's the whole thing. Like he just got paid $69 million. I don't think that it's a bad idea to cash the fuck out.
He's at like an artist.
At some point, you win. Yeah. Like when you're playing at a casino and you win, like at some point you should leave. You know, like that's what you can't fault him for that. If somebody gave me $69 million, I wouldn't be like, how could I turn this into 80 million though? You know, I'd be like, yes, vacation.
That's not money that you don't even need that much interest to it. Like,
no, you could literally
the lowest fucking interest thing ever, and you're still earning enough.
You're still making like hundreds.
Yeah, you cash out. Put in
you could probably get like 4.5% right now on a fucking like 20-year bond fixed, right? 69
or even
million?
Like a high interest savings account. Like you don't even need
you don't even have to buy the bond.
Just go to your bank and then you don't need to know about like how to buy bonds or whatever. Just put in a savings account.
So if you're making that, let's say 4.5% APY, which is totally doable, right? You know how much you're making a day in interest?
What? How much?
Each day, $8,500
a day.
Per day.
Yeah, like you don't have to work for the rest.
It's $3.1 million a year at 4.5%.
Yeah, see.
So I don't know if you're worried about like you know
what the price should. Yeah.
You can buy 1 ETH every day and have more
just
than
with
enough.
The interest.
You could buy 1 ETH every morning and every night and still have enough money to pay everything else in your life. It would be nice. Yeah, Pigwood, even at 1%. Yeah, I mean at 1% of 69 million, that's $690,000 a year. That's already more than most people make.
Yeah, like the lowest it goes to like 1%.
Yeah, so if you're at 1%, that's still $1,900 a day. Like, damn, you can continue to do art and never sell another piece and still do better than every other artist that you ever have met in your whole life. But yeah, you know, so there we go. I mean, I guess the takeaway is, you know, the markets are moving in a way that has signaling kind of like it's
a downtrend.
It's time to like be prepared. Yeah. So as always, I think the move is to like set your opinions now on like what will you do given a certain price, and so that if the price action does play out in that direction, you have a plan and you can follow your plan. I wouldn't want to see anyone out there trying to make decisions in the heat of the moment when the market just took a huge shit or just had a massive rally recovering. Let's say tomorrow pumps to 93K for Bitcoin. Do you know what you're going to do? If you're investing, you should have a plan. And I think this is a good reminder, at least, to kind of like form some of those plans and set some of those risk targets where you can off risk and, you know, hopefully kind of like capture a better entry price if we do continue to sell off. But for now,
yeah,
like
in a downtrend, basically every retest pump is a second chance to exit.
Exactly.
Like in a downtrend.
And so we did get like some big drops lately, and it feels like, oh shit, did I miss the like chances? Like, don't like. Also, I'm having to do this myself right now. Like, don't just like ape in and sell everything out and like take this big hit compared to where I could have sold, you know. And so instead, I'm gonna wait, see how it plays out, and like take a more metered approach and try to follow a strategy, have a plan. I'm not reacting. Because I am investing and I'm not just gambling, and therefore not just reacting to the changing chips on the table. I have a plan to execute regardless of what happens next. So I would say if there's only one takeaway from today, it's use this as an opportunity to see what your strategy might be and where your targets for, you know, maximum loss or pain or whatever is. Where would you actually cut? You know, and have like an honest kind of opinion of that with yourself, so you're not stuck in a kind of a high emotional state of mind when shit is hitting the fan or when shit is blowing up and exploding and values, you know, printing into your pocket. So that way you can actually capture some of the value or, you know, hedge against some of the insanity that comes down the line. But if you want to get more active with it and like join us as we trade live, you can join over at maxi.io, where Sid and I are sharing all this stuff kind of like in real time. All the charts that we shared today are part of like TA posts that we shared there as well. And pretty much when we make positions with our personal wallets too, often we'll share that there and be like, I'm taking these positions. I mean, right now it's been a little boring because we sold into cash and have been sitting in cash LPs. I've been pushing the Hydra one, so 23% on my cash. That's not bad. I was able to, like pull half a Bitcoin into that. That's like, you know, $50,000.
I'm waiting for a retest pump money to go long again.
Now I got the second.
And then like probably short after the retest pump.
All right, I'm going to raid into another streamer.
Perfect timing.
Joining us, everybody.
Yes.
You're raiding.
Make sure I'm spelling this guy's name right. I was wrong.
Gambling is the way. Yes, gambling's fun too. I'm also not saying you shouldn't gamble. I gamble too.
But go to Vegas for that.
Yeah, or don't expect
have a better experience.
Or expect to lose. Like, you know, like when I gamble, I consider it like I'm paying money to play.
It's money lost.
Game. Yeah, like I'm not expecting to walk away with any profit. I'm expecting to be paying for the, you know, for the game, to play the game or to have some fun. It's like paying for entertainment.
All right. We'll see everybody tomorrow. Have a good night and catch you next time. Peace.
Later. Yeah. And looks like that worked.